So, in this lecture, we'll be talking about informative speeches and how to present and design an informative speech. As you might imagine, the purpose of an informative speech is to inform. Your job is to make your listeners smarter by the information you present. How do we do this? Let me give you my three keys for how to do this. One, know your topic. Two, know your audience. And three, know what you want to say. Know your message. So, what do I mean, know your topic? Know the latest research. Know important findings about your topic. Know credible sources that you can cite for presenting your topic. And know opposing viewpoints or people who might disagree with what you're presenting. Include those, but then include reasons why we shouldn't see things that way if they disagree with you. Your goal is not to persuade us, but to inform us, to make us smarter, to make us know something about your topic. So, what does it mean to know your audience? The textbook talks a great deal about this, so I'm only going to touch on it briefly. But it's important to know your audience's demographics. Demographics are statistics about any audience that include age, sex, race or ethnicity, income, education level, and geographical region or location where your audience is. So what this means is if you're talking to a group of high school seniors, your message might include the same information, but it's going to be significantly different than if you're talking to a bunch of older people. I've been asked many times to present about a documentary that I produced called Stealing Home. And it's a story of some people who take care of the historic Tiger Stadium baseball field in Detroit. The topic covers a lot of Detroit Tigers history as well as a lot of Detroit history. And so I've been asked to speak to high school seniors and juniors about this topic. I play the documentary and I address their concerns. But when I present, I make references that teenagers will understand. I've also been asked to present to an audience that was described to me. These are the words that these are not my words. This is how the audience was described to me. A bunch of old white ladies who love Detroit history. That was the words of the person who invited me to speak. So I tailored my presentation differently to them. I'm not going to have references to TikTok or to Ninja or other YouTube or Twitch stars that they will never understand. And by the same token, if I'm speaking to high school seniors or juniors, I'm not going to talk about Benny Goodman. I'm not going to talk about Heine Hanush of the Tigers. I'm not going to talk about things that they wouldn't understand, people whose references they wouldn't get. So knowing my audience allows me to tailor my message to that audience. Are one characteristic of your audience. Psychographics are another characteristic. Psychographics delve a little bit more in depth into the psyche of your audience members as a group, not as individuals. But this includes things like audience's beliefs, values, and attitudes, political or religious affiliations, tastes, habits, hobbies, things that these people do. A group of high school seniors is very diverse. I can't just go in there and make all sports references, right? There's a lot of people in high school that don't like sports or don't follow sports. Maybe there's people who like the arts much more. But I can't just assume that everyone in my audience is a musician or everyone in my audience plays guitar, all right? I've got to know my audience a little better than that. So I ask questions about the audience to whom I will be presenting. And when you design a speech, you need to know this as well. Who will my audience be? This is critical. So understanding your audience helps you design the message that you present to your audience. So my students frequently ask, how do I choose a topic for my informative speech? It can be anything that makes us smarter, anything that helps us grow in our knowledge. Okay, so you could talk about a current issue, something that's in the news, something that you're passionate about. You can talk about an event. It could be a current event. It could be a historical event. You could talk about Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. You could talk about the Marines raising the flag on Iwo Jima. You could talk about September 11. You could talk about the January 6th storming of the Capitol. All of those are events. You could talk about people, a famous person from the past, an important person from the present. You could talk about someone who's inspired you. Inform us, make us smart. Talk about activities. I've had tons of students give speeches over the years about activities that they love. I actually had one student do a demonstration of crocheting. I can't do it right now, but she actually brought in crocheting needles and started making a sweater while she was giving her speech. It was actually pretty cool. I came away not knowing how to crochet, but knowing that it's cool and that it's not just for old people. All right. So she gave a great speech on that. I've had other students give a speech on the history of soccer or the history of lacrosse. A lot of my athletes do that. So I have been richer and made richer because of this content that my students are passionate about. This is what you need to do. Find something you're interested in and find something that you're curious about. Maybe something that you already know about, something that you're an expert in. If you're a martial artist, for example, give a speech about the martial arts. You'll still need to use other sources than your own and your own experience, but you can provide a great depth of knowledge from your experience to help you design and tailor the speech for your audience. So when you give your speech, you need to know your isht, as I say in the backwards radio edit. Isht. It means isht. You probably know what it means. All right. So with that said, you need to be the smartest person in the room about your topic. With one exception, sometimes I know more about a topic than my students do. All right. So you need to be smarter than the rest of your class about your topic. Know it inside and out, and be ready to answer questions about it that your audience might ask, or that you anticipate your audience might ask if you were delivering the speech live. In a virtual class, you can't really do that. Audiences don't ask questions. So how do you know your isht, as I say? Well, you research it. Read a lot about it. Gather tons and tons and tons of information. Keep a list. Write down citations for what you're telling us. Once you've gotten a ton of information, then think about, what are the main things I want people to know about this topic? All right. So how do you become an expert? Read, read, and read. All right. And this could be online sources. This could be books. This could be magazines. Watch videos on it, but know your stuff. You can also have tons of personal experience on it. One of the other examples I give, not just athletes, not just martial artists, but not just crocheters, but one of my students actually gave a speech on how to become a volunteer firefighter. And she's a volunteer firefighter. So she had years of experience, not tons of experience, but she had several years of experience of being a volunteer firefighter. And she was able to take that, combine it with other research, and present an excellent speech about the topic. So that's what you need to do as well. So when you evaluate your sources, how do you know if you have a credible source? Always ask the question, how does my source know this? Always be able to answer the question, if your audience were live and we could ask you questions, always be able to know the answer to the question, really? Where'd you hear that? All right. I actually had someone, I won't go there. All right. So if you can't answer those questions, you lose credibility as a speaker. You don't want to lose credibility as a speaker. So there's different kinds of informative speeches. You could do a descriptive speech where you describe something, describing the game of lacrosse, for example, describing the game of soccer. A demonstration speech, like the one I mentioned, might be how to crochet. I've also had students do a speech on how to carve a pumpkin for Halloween. It was a pretty cool speech. The student brought in a pumpkin and carved it up while he was talking. Kind of cool. I also had another student who did a demonstration speech of how to make the best banana splits, a form of ice cream sundae. It would have been great if she hadn't spilled the banana and some of the ice cream on the floor. Oops, try not to do that during a public speech. If you're doing that at home and that happens, start again. You can't edit it out, but I'll never know if it's your third take. All right, but you cannot edit, but you can do multiple takes if you need to. So another form of speech, so you can also do a speech of explanation, explaining something, explaining how the Allies won World War II, explain how the United States beat the Soviets to the moon. Whatever topic you want to tell us about, choose a topic and give us good information about that topic. And there are different types of speech designs as well. A categorical design is where you break something down into categories. An example of this might have the game of football, for example. You tell us about offense, defense, and special teams, three natural divisions that occur in that topic. A comparative design compares two things, one that we already know about, and we compare that to something that we don't really know about. Or it could be two things that we don't know much about. Or it could be two things that we know quite a bit about. But if you do that, it kind of tends to go toward a persuasive topic. And your goal for this speech is not to persuade. Your goal is to just give us the facts, just inform us. A spatial design is used to describe something, oftentimes a place, maybe your parents' cabin on a lake up north. Maybe describing the campus to someone who's never been here. Maybe describing a place you visited on vacation to people that have never been there. A sequential design is used to tell us how to do something. I've had many speeches about this over the years. Some of the memorable ones. How to drive a stick shift car. All right? How to change a flat tire. It's a lot harder to demonstrate these in a classroom, but you can describe them. And you can tell us step by step how to do it, how to check your computer for viruses, how to play a video game, whatever it might be, describe it to us. And if you're telling us how to do it, then the sequential design is the logical choice for speech design. A chronological design takes us from one spot in time to another spot in time. It's good for telling us the history of things. For example, the history of social media, how social media have changed over the years. A causation design explains the causes and consequences of something. For example, a speech about alcohol consumption and what it causes. What are the effects that too much alcohol has on the body or on society? Global warming. What are the causes and what are the effects? Again, be careful not to be persuasive about this. Your goal is not to get us to do something. It's not to get us to believe something. It's to get us to understand something. That's what you need to do with this speech. So the textbook gives tons of ideas on how to select a topic. Here are my tips. 1, start with an idea, something you know about or something you're curious about. That's the first step. Then answer these questions. What do I already know about that topic? And what do I need to know about that topic? So that gives you a place to start. Ideally, when you do this speech, you'll be richer and smarter yourself after having done it. You'll know more about the topic than when you started, even if you're already an expert on the topic. So step number 3, Research the topic to make sure you have attained a level of responsible knowledge. Make sure that what you're saying is accurate. Number 4, answer these questions. What do I really want people to know about this topic? That is your thesis statement. Then, what are the 3 takeaways I want people to get? If they only remember 3 things about the speech, what 3 things do they really need to know? And those are your 3 main points. Number 5, start your outline with the thesis statement and your 3 main points. Then expand on it from there. Here's my thesis statement. I want to tell people about the game of football. My 3 main points are offense, defense, and special teams. All right, those are my 3 things that I need people to know about. So after that, I will expand my topic. I will expand on each main point. So for each main point, I will add supporting material or evidence to prove or to illustrate or to explain or to elaborate on my main point. And then you add transitions to help us go from one point to another. After you've done this, so you write your thesis statement, you write your main points, then you provide subpoints. Those are the evidence to prove or to illustrate your main points. After you've got those and your transitions, now write a powerful attention grabber and write a powerful summary or clincher for the end. Then, after you've done all this, proofread. Make sure you proofread because I proofread when I grade, and then rehearse it out loud. How does it sound? How long is it? Did I put too much in? Am I going to go over 7 minutes? Did I not put enough in and I'm under 5 minutes? Those are the steps I offer for creating an effective, informative speech. That's my advice to you.